Are you recording?
5'11" and a half.
Just under 6.
Just under 6, yeah.
Right, before I go, hold on. Before I go on, I want to apologise to Heiko because last week I gave him a bit of heat. I was trying to describe why India is in a third world status, and he only heard the word third world when I said Pakistani. He went mad like you. Are you sure he's not Pakistani, Heiko?
Content over everything. Might be.
So he started getting annoyed with me, and I have to admit, last week I was a little bit aggressive because I thought people were like kind of trying to control me about what I can say, and so I kind of let it rip on him. I did apologise to him to his face, but I will apologise again. I've got to better my behaviour as well, and not got so triggered. Unfortunately, I'm very angry, so I might be shouting a bit as well today. And it's not to do with Speaker's Corner, it's some personal stuff. So what we're going to talk about today, we've got Saad, we've got Big Ardz. Big up to you two. Look a bit more cheery, man.
Big up, man.
Right, so what we're going to talk about today is to kind of elaborate more on what I was saying last week about the human rights abuses of India and why India has gone from the third world to the third world status. And obviously that's my status of, you have the first world, developing world, third world, and then a new category called third world.
You're judging that by human rights.
That's by human rights. So Saudi Arabia is a permanent member. Yeah. North Korea is a permanent member, like the UN. And then you have people that can walk in and come out. So Pakistan was in there for a while because of their CCRBB and a few other situations.
You got hotted up in there, you took them out.
And that's how we first met, like, because I was calling it a third world, he got angry and then he come over. Now India is firmly in the third world. And I'm going to actually say something. I don't think they can get out.
What's the reason for that now? Let them know.
All right, it's a lot of issues, but the main thing is that the RSS and the BJP, down to the BJP and the RSS and Modi and the terrorists, are trying to subjugate the minorities. The way I judge a country is how do you treat your citizens, and especially how do you treat the minorities in the country. And India at the moment is really abusing their power in terms of how they're treating the minorities, especially with the Kashmiris and the Punjabis. Yeah. And this is what I want to kind of touch upon because although I'm a Khalistani, I don't believe in when I say Khalistani, I mean I want the Punjab to be separate. I don't want it through violence, I want it through a referendum. And the Kashmiris are sort of asking for the same thing now, from my understanding. So when I've gone to a few Khalistan protests, what I've realised is that you have this Kashmiri element now, and they're quite vocal, so you have the flags and everything. So I kind of want to understand if there are any similarities and what differences between the two struggles we have in terms of India. And towards the end, I'm not going to say if we got time, we'll make time. We could talk about the India-Pakistan conflict and your kind of like analysis, because obviously it's kind of over now. It's kind of tensions have gone down, but I haven't spoken to Ardz since then, and I haven't spoken to yourself about it. So, what I want to know from either of you two, are you aware of what happened yesterday in Haryana?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not aware of the Gurdwara thing. You told me about that. Yeah. That there was some construction issues, planning permission or something, and then the Hindu nationalists came in and invaded the Gurdwara and they killed a Sikh, right?
Yeah, so they killed a 50-year-old man. 50-year-old man in the temple.
Old man, basically,
yeah, 50-year-old man in the temple. So there was a planning dispute between the Hindu temple and the Sikh temple, and they stormed the Gurdwara. And then what happened was that one of the individuals died, and they wore RSS Hindutva nationalists. And then on top of that, which was kind of strange, the same day in the same area, in Haryana this morning when I jumped on, they also went in, beat this Muslim family up.
I just read that story.
Beat up a Muslim family.
Four people that were playing cricket, a Muslim family, and 35 to 40 goons.
Yeah, come to the house and beat them with sticks. So I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that
you know more about Holi than me. What isn't Holi about the colours and all that?
The Sikhs celebrate Holi Mahalla,
right?
And Hindus celebrate Holi.
Yeah,
Holi is a different celebration. I don't want to go too much into it, but Holi is about celebration and colours. The Holi Mahalla is more about the Sikhs. If you look at us, we're training and doing military. So when you see the Holi Mahalla for the Sikhs, they're riding horses, fighting. So it's like
a Taliban training camp.
So it's like So basically, it's a very different thing. So you see guys on horses, like 4 horses standing, doing.
That's it.
But the Holi for the Hindus is more of a celebration with the colours. Yeah.
So this is why I asked you that point, because if it's a celebration and everyone's enjoying themselves, why are you going and beating up a family for playing cricket?
Well, this is where fundamentalists.
Because I can understand if you're mourning someone's death and you've come out, maybe it's not appropriate, but. I don't get it.
Well, cricket's cricket, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's your national sport. Everyone loves it with a passion in India.
I mean, the reason why I'm going to go very hard into India and send this to the embassy, you little pricks, because I don't give a shit.
Put
Yeah.
that on, bruv, you are catch
Now,
this
what I'm
shit.
going to say is this, yeah. When it comes
India,
to India, yeah, has a reputation around the world for being some kind of the greatest, one of the biggest democracies in the world. That has got, you know, human rights are pretty good, and you know, just generally they try and make themselves out to be better than Pakistan in that area. But in reality, the way things are going, they're just as bad. Because I'm going to say Pakistan's bad as well.
When you were going back and forth about Pakistan,
Yeah.
one of the main things that you was bringing up was, oh, I think 50 to 60 people had died in a certain amount of years over blasphemy laws.
Yeah.
And now you've done your research and you found out what?
So that 52 Muslims were killed for eating beef.
Apologise, Raj.
So I'm not apologising for nothing. You're mad.
But you've seen the error of your ways now.
Yeah.
How-
It's not about errors of my way. If I don't know what's going on and I'm being told, I've got to look for myself.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is still religious fundamentalism in the sense that someone got killed in Pakistan for saying something, and some people got killed in India for eating beef, which is part of their faith that they can't eat beef. And just to clarify, Sikhs are not Hindus. We don't care if you
And
eat
these
beef.
are just the ones that I reported. We don't know how many are not reported that go undetected.
Yeah,
I
yes.
mean, there was another story. I was talking about it on my channel yesterday. Bro, filthy. Listen to this, right? A 12-year-old girl in India, right? She was raped by her two brothers and her uncle. After they raped her, and then they killed her and beheaded her with a sickle. You know what a sickle is, right? They beheaded her with a sickle, bro. This is in India.
Can I just do a preface to
300
this?
and something thousand
Yeah.
rape cases reported in 2016.
All right, so let me just preface this because
Mad,
I'm
bro.
going to go on a bit of a rant here, and this is not towards the Hindu people. There's a billion Hindus. Majority of them are very peaceful.
Yeah, even Wu said
But
that as well.
there is this minority within there that is growing within India of the RSS and the BJP. The BJP is a political party, but the RSS is like a kind of an offshoot.
Could you
of,
call them extremists?
Yeah, they are extremists.
They're extremists.
So they've
and
got
they're willing to use violence.
Yeah, I mean, it's not willing, they are using violence. So a lot of these attacks on the Sikhs is actually stemming from Modi. I mean, the Kashmir, the Gujarat riots
Yes.
that killed a lot of Muslims. That was it was a political thing from Modi.
Modi was the organizer of that. You
Yeah,
understand? He
yeah.
was the organizer of the orchestrator.
So
And he was denied visa into America for that same reason. And the CIA cited that reason and said that you're a terrorist
Yeah.
because of your actions.
Yeah.
But now he's the prime minister. Nobody can stop him from coming to the country.
Yeah. What the thing is, I mean, obviously, for me, the final straw, although there was a lot of final straws, I'm probably a bit too lenient with that country, but the final straw was when 3 Sikhs have been in prison for life for having literature, videos, and thoughts that they deemed to be
life, you know.
unacceptable. So, you know, they're now in prison for that, for life, not for a year, not for 2 years.
expressing their thoughts?
No,
Just
they
for
didn't
having
express it.
literature
They had
about
videos
Khalistan.
about a separate state called Khalistan
In India.
in India.
How did people know they had videos?
And they're Sikh
Because they
people,
obviously raided their
three of them,
house.
Now they're in prison for life.
So,
Just for
look,
possessing this.
I want to say to people, yeah, this is not about, can I just say, this is not about Khalistan. A lot of Sikhs don't agree with Khalistan, yeah? It's a very divisive subject, even in my own family. But one thing this is about human rights. Whether you agree with Khalistan or you don't, or you agree with Kashmir or you don't, the fact is people are being put into prison for life for thoughts. Yeah, and there's another individual called Juggi, who's a UK citizen that has been
Yeah,
in
you were
prison for
talking about him.
not 100 days, 500 days.
No charge.
Yeah, no charge at the moment. So
He's
500
in
days.
remand with no charge.
Yeah, and he's a British citizen as well. From the thing he said, they're saying that he's linked to a murder and
So
assassination.
isn't the British consulate doing anything to,
Well, they don't want to ruin relations with India because they've got this kind of like.
especially after Brexit, that's one of the main trading partners.
So what it is that India is using its kind of economic power to kind of like, you know, a bit like Saudi Arabia does as well. Like, because people need the oil, they can get away with a lot of stuff. So India is kind of moving down that tradition of suppressing its minorities, and it's growing. I mean, for yourself here, what's your kind of understanding? Because I want to understand the Kashmiri separatist movement. And let me just say something, I do not agree with any terrorism or any killing of people, because just the Indian conflict started, the one that just happened was because 40 soldiers were blown up in a convoy by Kashmiri separatists.
Yeah, but this is what you've read of media, this is what they've shown that this was happened, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's kids in Kashmir, am I lying, Saad, are being blinded by pellet guns every day, right? There's women that are being raped every day by the Indian army in Kashmir. So earlier on when you was asking what's the similarities and what's the reasons for them, I think the similarities are none when it comes to the actual experience on the ground at the moment.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Sikhs, the Sikhs are in the army, they're all up in the MPs and all that kind of stuff in India, right? But the Kashmiris are not. You understand? Especially the Muslim Kashmiris are not. So they're suffering, they're dying, they're being oppressed here. And is there kind of an apartheid state, I would say, Jammu and Kashmir?
I think it's got
for the
about
Muslims.
500,000.
Can you give a history?
soldiers.
Can you give a brief history of what's
He
happening?
just said it's 500,000 soldiers
Yeah.
in Jammu and Kashmir.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most
Militarized
zones in the
Yeah.
world.
I think it's up there on the level with the DMZ, which is the border between North Korea and South Korea.
Okay.
And that's pretty
Yeah,
militarized, yeah. I think when we start any discussion, we have to preface it with the importance of being academic, honest, and clear in our approach and our methodology. We don't want to be using one set of standards for one group or government or people and not be using the same for the
Same
other.
for the other, yeah.
Let's assess each idea, government, or ideology on its own merit and recognize it for what it's at. In discussions about South Asia, a lot of these wounds are still open.
They're fresh,
and a
yeah.
lot of people still feel this pain. The generations above me and above yourselves
Yes.
have directly been
Affected,
victims
yeah.
and affected of some of the violence and bigotry and xenophobia that is not just taken place, but is taking place.
Definitely.
So I suppose if we start with just the Narendra Modi, because he's often put as the poster boy for evil in in India at the moment. A lot of his detractors, perceive him as a Hindu nationalist, and so on and so
Perceive
forth.
or he is?
Well, his detractors call him a Hindu nationalist. He
what-
probably would just see himself as India-centric.
But I'm saying you, as somebody looking on the outside, what would you say?
I think there's many problematic aspects about Narendra Modi, but we have to recognize when we talk about Narendra Modi, first of all, why has he got still quite a bit of support? So
Even from Sikhs.
even from
What's
Sikhs-
quite strange is that there are
Sidhu-
Sikhs in the
Sidhu left him, though.
there are
Navjot Singh
Sikhs
Sidhu,
there are Sikhs in the BJP,
Yeah.
and that is, to me, to be honest with you, if any Sikh brothers are about, I would love to understand how somebody can be in the BJP and be Sikh. It
You
doesn't
haven't
make
got to
sense.
look in the fucking mirror and beat yourself up if you're a Sikh.
No, but
and-
what I
and
read
you're
about the
in
Hindutva
BJP.
is that they classify everybody who's from the kind of Dharmic faiths and even the Islamic faiths as they're very pro-nationalist.
So come to
Yeah.
Kashmir a bit, because
Yeah.
you're the,
Yeah, if you
you're
go
the
to
guy
Kashmir.
on Kashmir for us. So let us know a bit of the separatist movement.
Yeah.
And does it want a separate state from Pakistan and India, or do you want to be part of Pakistan, or what is the deal?
I mean, when we talk about Kashmir, we don't want to elongate every argument and go into the last 2,000, 3,000 years of history.
Yeah, of course not.
But if we can just try and pinpoint what happened with Kashmir that makes it such a sore thumb for India and Pakistan relationships, we have to do a little bit of soul searching and look back just in the last 70 to 80 years. A lot of the British Raj comprised of what was called princely kingdoms. These were sovereigns or
Princely
kings
states, yeah.
who had their own autonomous rules,
was
bureaucracies,
one of them, yeah.
legislations. Kashmir was one of them, Hyderabad, Lucknow, Oud,
Bahawalpur,
Bihar,
yeah.
Bahawalpur.
Yeah,
These
so
places
just
were
to
quite-
clarify, a lot of people have this concept of this India, but in reality, like you said, there's a lot of principalities and
Yeah, there was
different
empires,
kingdoms.
different states, yeah.
So it was basically, you could also classify it almost like
But it's a
lots of,
subcontinent,
a bit
isn't
like
it?
Europe, like loads
Right,
of
it's a
different countries within
subcontinent.
there.
It's a massive land,
Yeah.
subcontinent,
Or
and then you have empires.
as Winston Churchill said, India is a continent masquerading as a country.
Yeah.
Just the level
Yeah,
of diversity that it has, or the subcontinent, the amount of variations in belief, language,
Languages,
culture,
yeah, I mean-
and geography makes it very, very cumbersome to just look as a single identity. A lot of people don't know this, but Bengal was partitioned before the British Raj was partitioned. It was considered too unwieldy as a state to manage, because I think there was the Bombay Presidency and Punjab and the Princely Kingdoms and Hyderabad and so on and so forth. And Bengal was so big and had so many people in it, they couldn't administrate it, in and of itself, and they had to partition into smaller parts. But putting that to one side, even the geographical aspect of the subcontinent, people don't realize that the Indus Valley River, that region, and the Gangetic Plain, and the mountains across central India and Maharashtra.
This is when I need my globe.
These
Invasions all the
are
time.
these are natural borders. Some of these places have had distinct identities that is separate from other parts of,
Yeah, the
of
Himalayas
country.
is a big border, yeah, it's a
You have
definitely a big border, bro.
Sino-Tibetan languages, you have Dravidian languages like Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam, and Tamil, and you have
Might want to go a
Bengali,
bit closer to the...
and so on and so forth. And so when we look at Kashmir, what were the? It's a hard point to raise, but we have to recognize that partition has happened. It was a reality, and there's no looking back or turning away from the fact that there was a separation of a large amount of people on the basis of which religion are they would go to this country or the other country. What was the fundamental basis for people separating from one side of the border to the other? It was as simple as this: Muslim majority areas conceded to Pakistan, and Hindu majority areas conceded to India. Those countries that had heartlands that were surrounded by territory of the opposite religion were just assimilated wholesale.
bit like Punjab, obviously.
Yeah, so Punjab was
is one of the areas.
the sticking point where it's about 70-60% Muslim, 30% Hindu, and about 20% Sikh. So naturally, that was where a lot of the violence originated. Now, what makes Kashmir a little bit different? Kashmir was a case where we had the majority of the population being Muslim, whereas the ruler was Maharaja Hari Singh. He was Hindu.
Sikh or
No,
He was
Hindu.
Hindu.
Singh is also a Hindu
name as well. So you know how you have you have Singapore, right? Singapore is the lion.
That's a new one still, though.
You know how you have Singapore.
Yeah,
right?
Singh, yeah.
Yeah, but we Singh is middle name, and then we have the.
What does Singh means lion?
Yeah, but the Hindu one is slightly different. From
I think it was with the 8th or 4th guru. Yeah,
that's side point. So,
The side
it's
point, yeah.
80-90% Muslim.
It was majority.
The people wanted to cede with Pakistan.
So what happened is that Maharaja Hari Singh initially he wanted to stay independent.
Yeah.
He wanted his state to retain its independence. The majority of the Muslims at that point in time, they were split across different parts of the valley. We had Gilgit-Baltistan, we had the Gilgit Scouts, and we had the tribal Pathan people as well. And a lot of these people, they considered these borders permeable, which means just because you were in one part of the land doesn't mean a country halfway around the globe which said this part is different from that part, they treat it any differently. They saw it as, you can move from there to there, it's our land nonetheless.
But they've been doing that for thousands of years.
So what happened is the Gilgit Scouts basically walked into Kashmir and they supported some of the local agitations against Maharaja Hari Singh's signing the instrument of accession towards India.
Yes.
Right,
And what's the time frame for this?
46 or 47, I think.
46. All right, just
47.
after.
Or it might have been 48. I think the
I think a year
After
I think it was a year
independence,
after.
because the independence was at
It was
47.
48.
It was
yeah.
after the independence, yeah.
So what happened? This was the key sticking point. The legal process went for the instrument of accession to be handed over to India.
Yes.
Now, if we subscribe to the argument that India is a democratic state that has a secular constitution,
look at what the people want.
then surely, exactly, the argument would be that we can't have a monarch saying, "I'm going to go to that country." But given these were transitional times, maybe we can make that exception. Let's give it to them in that case, right? Some of the people rebelled and part of the territory got divided up. Azad, Jammu, Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan, Pakistani administered.
Explain the reason for that was because when India decided to take up on the Maharaja's offer of seceding to them, Pakistan was influenced by the people of the region and went in to help their brothers and sisters.
So a lot of the time people have a hard time getting to grips with this, but the Muslim polity or the Muslim body has a sense of interconnectedness, which is why during the Afghan-Soviet war, you had the US giving money to the Pakistanis to basically
training Mujahideen to go fight the Soviets in Afghanistan.
Chechens, Indonesians, Arabs, Afghans, coming in, funneling them through Pakistan, through Waziristan into Afghanistan to fight this proxy war.
And same thing's been happening. I mean, in Azad Kashmir, there's Afghanis that will come, there's Pakistanis that will come, people from around the world that will come and fight and help the Kashmiris.
So a lot of these Muslims had a shared sense of, we don't want our Muslims to feel,
subjugated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
In a sense, yeah.
So then that division happened. So now some people say that, some Indians will argue that this is not up for discussion. The catchphrase is, that the territorial sovereignty of, India should not be questioned and Kashmir is an integral part of India. We hear this time and time again.
Yes.
On the basis that this legal instrument of accession was given on the ruler of India. Now, if this is the case, I would pose the question, what about the case of Hyderabad? The princely Nizam, I think Osman Ali Khan IV.
Muslim, innit? He said he didn't want to be
we had
Can I ask you a question before you go? How did a majority Muslim area, how was it being ruled by Hindu Maharaja?
I would say this is just a bygone relic of past colonizations and empires.
Before the empires.
And sometimes you can have a sovereign or a monarch in place for a time, and he's got a good rapport and relationship with the people around. And I'll give you the
Maharaja Ranjit Singh was a minority.
And I'll give you the opposite example. Osman Ali Khan IV, I think the last Nizam of Hyderabad. Hyderabad, the ruling class, the bureaucracy and the legislative class, they were Muslim, but the majority population were Hindu.
Yeah, and
it was one of the richest
said we want to
states.
stay independent, India came in and said what?
So that's why I believe Hyderabad was the last state to be annexed into India under something called Operation Polo in 1948.
It's a military operation.
So if the argument is if the ruler secedes to one country, but the people disagree with it, what should be given precedence? Because if you give one, you have to give the other.
Right, yeah.
So we have to,
you gotta be consistent.
We have to be consistent.
Yeah.
That is the concern that I have, or that's what I have trouble understanding in terms of
So
relationships.
in this day and age now, what are the Kashmiri people's desire? What's the desire?
From some of the surveys that have been done by Gallup and Pew that I recall, supposedly in the Jammu and Ladakh region, a lot of the Kashmiris ask for independence.
Right.
Some people who are cynical, a bit more hawkish on the Pakistani side, they may say they're only saying independence because it's less damning for them to say to secede to Pakistan.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know about that. But my point is that I think it was a plebiscite needs to be held first. Yeah.
Every kind of Kashmiri rally I've seen, free Kashmir
Pakistan's
rally.
in the bar,
Bro, they would never say Kashmir's in, they're saying Pakistan's in the bar.
Yeah.
So this, I get confused sometimes. So I'm thinking like, bro, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I would suspect it's part of, you know, what you present as well. Maybe the argument for independence is easier than the argument for secession to the enemy state.
Because if they said that, like you just said, the enemy state, I mean, it's not going to be...
from their perspective, it could cause
be
more...
frowned upon, definitely.
Well, this is my analysis of like Punjab and Kashmir.
Yeah.
I believe India, if you look at it objectively, now remember, I don't agree with this, but this is what I think why India will never give succession to it under what you call kind of...
it opens the gateway for every...
So basically, you're on the border,
independence,
and both areas are like prone to attack. And if Punjab, like the Pakistanis, no offense to the Pakistanis, oh, big up the Punjab, you know, they want the Khalistan as well, yeah. And I truly believe the reason why Khalistan is being supported, now I'm going to do a bit of digging to Pakistan, so start preparing yourself, is that, big up, so is that they want India to be weakened, yeah. And one way to weaken India is to get the Punjab out of the area. And once Khalistan is,
I find that a bit cynical. Hold on. So you don't think that the Pakistanis have any heart or soul?
No, I didn't say that.
They can actually support a movement of freedom without having a
Didn't say that. Didn't say that. All right, so let me finish. I think some people truly want Punjab to be independent. Now, I truly do believe that, because when I meet the Kashmiris at these events, they truly seem like they want the Punjab to be independent.
The Punjabis, you know what you don't understand, yeah?
But hold on,
Punjabis are our brothers.
Yeah.
Done. You know why we want them to be free? Because they're our brothers. We don't want them to be...
But what I'm saying to you is that... But what I'm saying to you, though...
You only woke up now because this thing happened with the free Sikhs. Am I right?
So basically, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying the people on the ground would want that. I'm talking about the government or a military would want that. And so ultimately... I'm saying the people would want us to have independence because they want us to be free from oppression. But the government, which is the main body that's going to control what's going to go on, and the military, would see it as a weakening of India.
So if I can just jump onto the back, I think
would you agree with that?
It would be a weakening of India because you lot comprise of the most soldiers.
15%, 1%.
Why don't you fight for your own nation?
We tried in 1984.
You understand what I mean?
So we've tried. And I don't think violence is the way through now. For me, it's a referendum.
I see the point you're making in the sense that maybe it's not so altruistic that the Pakistani deep state is supporting Khalistan because it cares about Khalistanis. Maybe it's just easier for it to destabilize India in response to itself. I understand that.
I'm not talking about the individuals that on the ground. I'm talking about a larger kind of political movement.
The effect it would have.
That would have that. And because if you think about it, if Punjab was gone, if you look, I sometimes try and look at it objectively, what does India see with Punjab? It takes 75% of the water from Punjab. So in terms of the water supply, it's a lot. When it's the agriculture, you've got that as a bread basket of the agriculture. It's on the border with Pakistan. Yeah, that's what I just said. It's on the border with Pakistan. And on top of that, you have the army, which comprises of only 1% population of the Sikhs, but 15% of the army with some of the highest decorated regiments. So for them, if I'm looking at, when I'm trying to look at objectively, from their end, I've come to the conclusion that they would rather let Punjab burn than let it go.
Yeah. So I get the point you're making.
Yeah.
But
big up Khalistan though, I think
when we have the discussion about certain decisions or approaches taken by governments or deep states or foreign policy, I think we have to remove ourselves from the mindset of is it morally wrong or morally right. I don't think governments or state entities operate on a moralistic basis. Maybe that's the veneer that they put over it, but as they say, there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies, only permanent interests. And I believe that's what that's what the mindset we have to take. So if we say the Pakistanis or the Pakistani state is facilitating Khalistani elements to destabilize India, is it a question of good or bad, or is it a question of this is advantageous and benefiting them in the long term? Because the same argument could be made, what business did the Indian state have supporting East Pakistan, the Mukhtibani, and destabilizing to create
what business
Bangladesh?
does India have supporting Balochistan for a free Balochistan movement?
Right.
So, I'm just trying to look at it from all angles.
But obviously we have to make
obviously myself, I'm a pro Khalistani in terms of referendum. Down to India, man. Modis are terrorists,
Yeah.
and they're in the
Modis are
third world at the
terrorists.
moment, and they need to sort themselves out.
So, but before we go, before
Yeah.
I just make a quick point as well, with regards to Bangladesh as well and East Pakistan, I don't think we should ever ignore the contributions of the Bengali people to the wider culture, and also the wrongs that have been put upon them by both governments and both foreign policy.
And the British as well.
Yeah, but this is the point. When we look at foreign policy, we have to remove ourselves from moralistic thinking and moralistic approaches. We have to see it in terms of advantage geographically, in terms of resources, militarily, and there's also an element of posturing as well. And sometimes people can perceive military aggression in terms of, you know, the image that they want to present to discourage aggression as well.
So how has it got to this? So can you tell me this? Do you know whether? I mean, how much do you know about Khalistan though?
I don't know very much, so I'd be happy to hear from you.
I mean, but if you told me the main sticking points of Kashmir, I can probably tell you the similarities.
I mean, I imagine there is a large amount of overlap. You have a group of disenfranchised people who want to achieve sovereignty, both economic and political, to be able to govern themselves on some basis of religious or cultural or ethnic, factor. And naturally, those two marry up quite well. It's a reason why a lot of movements across the world can have similar bases and can link together and become, in a sense, intersectional.
I mean, one of the main differences, and before everyone starts bitching and whining, if you know more than me, come down and do it yourself, or give me some advice, because a lot of people go, oh, Ardz, you don't know shit. Well, you don't know shit. Turn up and do it yourself. So basically, just before I say I've got to do that preface, because people start moaning and whinging like little girls. So basically, when it comes to Kashmir, it's a much more complicated, from what I can understand, about who was the ownership of it and whether the people decided to go over to India or not. Whereas Punjab is a little bit more clear-cut in the sense that the Sikhs decided to side with the Indians on the premise that we was going to be given a lot more autonomy. Unfortunately, when we sided with the Indian side, because we could have easily said, all right, we want to be over in Pakistan. So for people that don't understand, Punjab was one area, and it was cut in half, and 60% went over to Pakistan, or a little bit more, and then you had 40, 35, 40%.
And a lot of people switched.
And when they went over from one
year,
when it went over and over, over 1 million people were killed, and both sides were savage towards each other. So in terms of the Sikhs, the way I feel is that we decided to side with one side, and they screwed us. Like literally screwed us. A lot of things they kind of promised or were going to do, they didn't. On top of that, they split Punjab into 3 areas. So Punjab is now chopped up again.
Haryana.
So you have it chopped once, then they
Punjab.
chop it in 3 times, Chandigarh, Haryana, and then the main Punjab.
Yeah.
And then they start to, what I call kind of like the Barney and the agriculture. A lot of Sikh farmers are committing suicide.
I think
because there's not enough water there, but they're taking out 75% of the water, but they also want another 10%.
Yeah, I think this is an important point that you've touched on as well.
Yeah.
If there's any benefit that should arise from discussions about South Asian, it's about what is the greatest common threat that is perceived by all people.
Yeah.
And it's quite mundane, quite prosaic, but the most important thing that attention should be given towards is conservation of the water table. So the amount of clean drinking water available to South Asia as a whole is something that needs to massively be addressed. The rampant corruption in the bureaucracy needs to be addressed. Healthcare and education things need to be addressed. However, I can understand why in most of these countries the political thought and zeitgeist of the era is underdeveloped, in the sense that why do people resort to macho hyper-nationalism? What appeals people to? And I think this is a response to the post-colonial complex of these places. And as a result of that, this malaise, because it has not been addressed and dealt with in an honest way, because we still have people engaging in historical revisionism, this is the fundamental basis of a lot of problems. You have people saying, we are the children of Arab invaders, not considering the fact that there was a deep and rich history.
I say that sometimes as well.
It's not. They're not
when I'm a bit angry, I say you're traitors. Right.
But the reality is,
I just did it yesterday.
but the reality is, the majority of the people of the Indus Valley have always been there. There's been some internal migration, but these people are native to the land which they're from. Similarly, you have some people talking about, we are Aryans. We have this great religion of Vedic Hinduism. When even then, the Vedas is dated to about 1300 BC. The Indus Valley collapsed 1500 BC.
It doesn't make sense.
About 200-300 year gap between an already existing civilization and religion, which may have influenced the later.
Well, there is some
text.
theories that the Indus Valley civilization was even older.
Yeah, I don't.
They haven't got an exact date.
Yeah,
but we do know when the Vedas were written.
Yeah, around 30 or the compiled in the most 13 to 1200 BC. Yeah.
So are you? So in terms, because one of the big components is the water, I think. That's one of the biggest things. Another issue with the Sikhs, this may sound quite mundane, but under the constitution, the Sikhs are subcategories of Hindus. And
I didn't know that.
so this is the problem that, the one thing about a minority, I think the least you can expect is that you're going to be classified as your own people. And one of the things about the RSS, what I can understand, they're a Hindu nationalist party that want to pretty much say Sikhs are Hindus. And we're just kind of like more of a militaristic.
I feel like this is, to one extent, this is almost like a bygone effect of English common law that was basically dressed up with, a few Indian or Pakistani or Bengali additions. A lot of these laws are quite antiquated and dated. Things like, I think it's a state of emergency in which, the president or prime minister can assume all executive powers and decisions.
And even the blasphemy laws in Pakistan was.
Yeah, these are dated things. I mean, I feel like Pakistan is often the poster boy for intolerance, and bigotry and xenophobia, but numerous metrics have shown that Pakistan has actually evolved and done quite well.
Fuck Modi.
Oh look, he's just turned up as soon as you're talking about Pakistan. F Modi, I don't swear that, but screw Modi, man.
I mean,
send it to Modi, and tell him that Raj is coming Punjab soon.
I think when we
Imagine me at the train, I'm gonna get arrested, man.
Don't worry, he's coming to the Pakistani Punjab.
I think when we criticize governments and people, let's be intelligent about what we have an issue with Narendra Modi or the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangat or the Bharatiya
The issue
Janata
I
Party
have,
and so on and so forth.
Well, let me say
I
the-
have with Modi
Yeah,
is
go on.
that he's a Hindu nationalist. Their aim at the moment is to destabilize Pakistan, right? He's made this very clear on numerous occasions. They want to decrease the size of Pakistan, right? So it becomes like just Punjab, I think they want to leave just as Pakistan here. They want to they got an ideology that they want to make everybody Hindu.
That's what you're saying.
So Modi wants to make everybody Hindu in the whole subcontinent.
Yeah,
What's the name of it? It's a Hindutva.
Hindutva.
So basically,
but it's a very recent
You say
philosophy.
Ghazwa Hind.
Yeah.
This is the opposite to that.
So basically, the biggest problem,
That's what it's
Undivided
called.
the biggest problem I have with the RSS, what they're doing is corrupting Sikh history. They're rewriting history.
historical revisionism,
And so what
yeah,
they're
that's the
trying to
biggest
do is to
problem.
go into the Punjab. So there's certain individuals like Banda Singh Bahadur, who's one of our greatest warriors, and he was originally Hindu. But they've taken control of Banda Singh Bahadur and say he is Hindu still. But he was part of the Khalsa. He converted and he became a Sikh. And all of his greatest triumphs were after he became Sikh. And so he fought for the Sikhs.
They're claiming that.
But what they're doing is that they claim him. They also claim Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the 10th Guru, as a Hindu. Like he's a Hindu figure. But he was a Sikh. He's the one that created the caste and the Sikh.
You know, a lot
as
of
you
your
know
gurus,
today.
a lot of the gurus had good relations with Muslims,
Yeah, I know,
It
I
wasn't
know.
all of them that had problems.
No.
A lot of them had good relations as well.
No. We have a lot of Sufi saints and stuff like that. But when it comes to the
Baba Farid's
Baba
poetry,
Farid,
120 poems are inside some of the
Ballam
the
and
Sikh
Dana and
texts,
stuff.
yeah.
So when it comes to the RSS, my biggest problem is that what they're trying to do is dilute Punjab. They're trying to rewrite history.
They made it smaller as well, haven't they?
Yeah, so basically I was talking to him, the reason why the Sikhs are pissed off is that when we sided with India in 1947, it was on the condition that, we were going to have a lot more autonomy in terms of the Sikh nation, and it was going to be almost like, the way Scotland is within the UK.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when it happened, the Sikhs got stabbed in the back hard. And what happened then was that...
Operation Blue Star?
Yeah, Operation Blue Star in 1984. When so big up to Bindrawala, A lot of people, some people say he's a terrorist. To me, he's a freedom fighter. So one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
And they say the same about Bhagat Singh as well, of 1920s?
Yeah. But
he was an atheist.
He was more of a communist
Yeah,
and stuff, and a different thing. So basically, when it comes to this situation, for me, no offense, look, my Hindu brothers, you're my brothers, but we're not Hindus. Full stop. We have a common lineage in terms of where we came from, and I'm proud of my Hindu history. Yeah, I love my Hindu history as well.
Buddhist then.
Yeah, or Buddhist or whatever, but that came from Hinduism as well. So at some point they might have been, or they could have just been pagans. So I'm proud of that history, But that doesn't mean that, you start rewriting our history and trying to conform it to your philosophy.
I was just going to say, when we talk about Hinduism, we don't want to engage in the same sort of rhetoric that people do when they talk about
that's what I'm
Islam.
saying, yeah.
So
It's a very small minority.
There's a fantastic book I'd recommend called Incarnations by a man called Sunil Khilnani. And he talks about 50 famous personalities stretching from as far back as Gautama Buddha, Siddhartha, all the way to people like Jawaharlal Nehru and so on and so forth. And he talks about the vast.
You know what they're going to say? That I'm a
plethora of
pigeon
views,
eating bread.
Buddhist was Ashoka.
Ashoka was the Buddhist. He converted to Buddhism. Yeah. I think after he killed his way all the way to
Exclusive,
Benares.
I'm eating bread on camera like a pigeon.
virtue
And he was just like, I don't want to kill anyone. He had like a stupa erected in his
the
name.
power he had at the time, I mean, I don't know what he was up to
Him,
do.
Raja
my
Chola,
brothers.
Chandragupta Maurya, Ashoka,
Yeah.
a lot of these old kings had massive empires. Right.
yeah.
I think the biggest
I might
contiguous
sing my
empire
track later.
at any point in time was Aurangzeb at the time.
Oh,
of his
no.
death, about 1707.
No, we're just talking about the biggest empires and for the...
Yeah, but don't mention his name today, please. I'll start propping at the mouth. So basically,
Sorry, where are we? I've lost track of
so
the
I was talking
conversation.
about.
There's crumbs on the mic, bro.
Yeah. I was talking about what my issues with the RSS. There are Sikhs within the RSS who are also trying to distort Sikh history, and they're posing as they are Sikhs, but they have this umbrella of being a Hindu, like an Indian nationalist, and they're kind of, in my opinion, being kind of brainwashed into thinking that they are sort of like glorified Hindus. And this is nothing against Hindus. I love my Hindu brothers, but
So
this is a
do you
situation.
think perhaps we should separate out the vast strands of Hinduism?
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
there's Hinduism, there's aspects of Hinduism in the Vedic sense that are
Yeah.
almost monotheistic.
Yeah.
There's the modern day Hinduism, the regional variations. There's a sort of philosophical.
South Indians are different.
You get philosophical atheism as a tradition as well. You get monism as well. The sense of oneness,
Jainism.
right? So there's so much. So perhaps the discussion should be about Hindutva or political Hinduism,
Yeah, so-
which is a recent
Yeah.
phenomena. I think dated back to about
Because the Sikhs and the
late
Hindus,
19th century.
the Sikhs and Hindus had a great relationship up until the 1980s, and it's no coincidence that the movement of this Hindu
Yeah.
fundamentalist nationalism has come about, and obviously with the Khalistan movement as well.
I'd like to cite just an example of the level of plurality and interchangeability between Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs on the political level.
Yeah.
Just an example in the Mughal era, there was a man called Saksan Bhimsal, who was a Hindu chronicler and soldier in Aurangzeb's army. He was a Hindu man writing in Persian about the things that he saw. And when there were different wars between kingdoms and principalities, the basis of war was not, the distinction was not made on religion, but rather it was made on caste and tribe. So you would have Marathas or Rajputs or Punjabis or Kashmiris or Gujaratis, which could be any religion, but it was
Can I ask
not
you
a
a question?
regional warfare.
Can I ask you a
that was
question? Because obviously, people won't know because most people don't know geography. But you have Kashmir up here, you have Punjab below, and then you have Gujarat slightly
Yeah,
below.
so-
why has
yeah.
Gujarat not had the same problem when there's a lot of Muslims in
So
Gujarat?
some people would say...
Is it a temperament? Are you trying to say
Well,
something?
we could
what are you going
say-
to say about Gujarat?
You're the one saying
I didn't say nothing. You said about the other guy. Gujarat is a little bit. What did you say?
Gujis
Beta.
are a bit camp, innit?
So
What can we
yeah,
do?
so is it to do because it is strange that you have this border and I don't ever hear of like Gujaratis wanting independence or there's problems there. Even though there was the massacre of the Muslims, why have they managed to keep
So,
away from this?
They're a passive
separatism?
people, bro.
When we,
What are you
when
trying
we,
to say?
They are a passive people. They're different.
Just say it. Just say it.
No, okay, no, there's a reason for
There's
that.
a cultural temperament
So the reason for that,
that
is, look,
may
the
be-
Kashmiris and the Punjabis have been prone to invasion throughout our history.
Yeah.
We've had to fight. I mean, Gujarat is a bit secluded.
Yeah.
You know that, so they
you
haven't had
could-
the
you
same
could make-
problems.
You could make a good argument from geography that some people who
Very
are
polite.
yeah.
He said it.
Yeah.
PC last time it was they're freaking weak.
I done it good today. I done it good today.
You couldn't
So
beat it last time.
we could have the argument that
You got to my Guji brothers, man.
from the basis of geography, some people will develop different cultural or attitudinal distinctions that make them better suited for the world that they live in.
Yeah.
The Mongols, for instance, we were talking about this earlier. They live on the open steppes of the Siberia and
I mean,
Mongolia,
the
Kazakhstan.
Turkic people and the
Turkic people,
Mongols
yeah.
are very similar
They-
in the way they live their lifestyle.
They were hardy people who had to, take what you could get and make do with what little you had.
Yeah.
Whereas, other civilizations were at crossroads, and that would give them quite a good amount of cultural capital because people would pass through them. So that meant they were quite good tradesmen. They would pick up multiple languages, and they would fertilize civilization around them, right? Perhaps it was the case that the Gujaratis, based on the environment that they were in, they didn't need to be in the way of a lot of warfare, and they developed themselves
Shall I
towards
make,
commerce.
Zubaydah.
shall I make people shake and that?
Zubaydah.
Allahu Akbar!
Oh my god! Oh my god! They're gonna think I'm the one though. Look,
Yeah, you're the one.
You know all the terrorists.
I look like more of the guy. You're gonna get me in
You've
trouble,
got the
man.
backpack on him.
Yeah, I got a
You're
backpack.
the guy
I'm always
who's-
getting looked at the train like. But I love that.
So like Surat, for instance, I
Yeah.
think it's a port city in Gujarat. So naturally, your geography indicates which way.
Surat is the place for diamonds, you know that?
Yeah, so it's got a lot of
So what do you
natural
so what do you think? Because for me, I come to an. So let me explain something. When in 1984, when the Sikhs were persecuted, the Golden Temple was blown up by the Indian government, and over I think it was like 10,000 Sikhs were murdered. And trust me, I don't want to say too. I don't want to say. I'm going to get
Let's
told.
say it. With a Sikh
he's
general.
a prick.
Sikh general.
So basically, that happened, and I was a young kid. I know it sounds a bit strange, you know. I look very young.
Before you carry on, give them the equivalent of what that place is to Sikhs.
Yeah, so the Golden Temple, what we call Harmandir Sahib, is like Mecca for the Muslims and like the Vatican for Catholics. So imagine tanks going in there and blowing it up and stuff like that. And so what
Which has
happened?
happened in Makkah.
And so what happened is that after that,
That was them,
the
crazy,
Sikhs
man.
are very angry. And yes, they did shoot Indira Gandhi. I don't agree with murder, but
Her own bodyguard
they
did it,
assassinated her, yeah, because they were so angry about what happened. I don't agree with murder, but like she was a bitch, no doubt about it.
So as a side point,
but
She murdered
but
lots of people.
I don't agree with murder. But basically,
But there's
what
repercussions
but what
for
happened
actions,
after
isn't
that?
there?
What happened after that? The Hindus got angry, the fundamentalists, and they killed like 10,000 Sikhs in these pogroms.
In how many days?
I think it was around a week or so, and nobody
6
got
days.
nobody got arrested or put on charge for until I think one person's been arrested now.
So hold
just
on a
last
second.
year.
1 second. So 10,000 Sikhs
Yeah.
were murdered in 6 days
Yeah.
for asking for a separate homeland.
Basically for asking yourself, but they killed Indira Gandhi and they got revenge. Rajiv Gandhi, that prick as well, and Amitabh Bachchan. I don't watch Amitabh Bachchan's movies anymore.
He's a waste man, isn't he? He's a real
Khun ka
nationalist.
badla khun or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. So basically, what they did, they done it into. We didn't have internet and stuff at that time. So what happened was that they made it into a police state, and nobody could go in, nobody come out, and
So a media blackout.
they literally just went into there and they were just been arresting and killing people. And there's loads of people that
Raping.
disappeared that we still don't know where they are. So when I was around, I know people aren't gonna believe it, but I was around 8, 9 years old then. I know I was around 20 years old, but when I was there, yeah, I was a little kid.
You
Yeah,
wish.
I know, I wish it. But when I was there, I actually had protested outside the Indian embassy. And prior to that happening, I'd just gone India 2 years before, and I was very pro-Indian. But after I saw everything, that's when I became what you call a Khalistani. At one point, I thought Khalistan should just be given through all means, including fighting. But I come to the epiphany over years, like, you know, when you come to a point, you're like, all right, there is only one way really, and that's a referendum.
Me, I think I
in
hold a
British-
different view.
So hold on.
Let me give my view on
yeah.
that, because I hold a totally different view to what he's saying about freedom fighting. I believe freedom fighting, you can use violence. But I believe when you use that violence, your violence should not kill even one innocent civilian. Your violence should be always, aimed towards the ruling elite and the military.
So
Apart from that, if you're going to be a freedom fighter, you shouldn't be like targeting the civilians. You understand?
all right,
what
so
I mean?
I'm not going to ask too much. I don't want you to. Well, you can say what you want, but
Go on.
just 3 weeks ago when the conflict arose, so we're going to go into the conflict with the Pakistan and India, and what happened is directly linked.
So you're going to ask me about
Kashmir.
that when you went
So,
on the suicide bomb?
so the thing is, yeah, one thing that, you know, I admit, when I was younger, I had very different views about, all right, these guys are fair game, they're soldiers, blah, 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 whatever happens, happens. I've got to the point now that, look, these soldiers are being told to do a job, yeah, and some of them may not even agree. And
Don't
I know
fucking join.
what you're going to
Don't
say,
join the
don't
army.
join, yeah,
Simple
but
as.
you do have a duty to protect your
No,
country
you
to a
don't.
certain degree.
Protect it yourself.
So I'm asking you, you don't have to answer it, but do you believe that those 40 soldiers that had a car bomb towards them, do you think they were fair game?
All right.
Don't answer if you don't
I'm
want
going to
to.
answer this here. That man should have gone there with a machine gun and not a bomb and sprayed everyone up. I don't believe in blowing yourself
Yeah,
up.
all right,
That's
all right.
haram. But yeah, fair game, bro.
All right, yeah. That's the one
Because
thing.
let me tell you
yeah.
why it's a fair game. That is an active war zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's an active war zone.
It's a hot.
So of course.
Yeah, so if someone I don't want to remember. I don't
It's an
condone
active war
violence.
zone,
here, but I'm
mate.
not a
I'm telling
pacifist.
you.
But if someone's going in, this is what I'm talking about. Like, when you're going to fight someone, like, do it freely. And if you're in a
Yeah,
war,
I-
do it
I
well.
think
But
we
when
have
you're
to-
blowing yourselves
I
up,
think we
that
have
to me seems
I
cowardly.
think we have to recognize that.
So when America, hold on. So when America comes from the top of the skies and boom, 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 boom,
I don't
boom,
agree with that
and
either.
don't even come on the ground. I've
don't-
never seen you condemn that. I've never seen you condemn it.
America
Condemn
all
it
the
now.
time. You don't ask me.
So he goes, I believe in fair fight, but
God.
when America's dropping bombs like drones and all
I've always said that the dropping of bombs and stuff here is very unfair, and I think it's savage because they become almost like computer games. People are literally sitting there with little joysticks.
Yeah.
Boom. And I don't
Exactly.
agree with that either. But
they could be in America guiding that thing into Iraq. You know
yeah,
what
so
mean?
I
Like,
don't agree with
it's
that either. But I'm talking about this specific situation.
But
Now,
like I said, right now it's an active war zone. So attacks on military.
All right, so let me ask you.
Zone, mate.
Let me ask you a question.
Habib.
So some Khalistanis do want Punjab in Pakistan as well.
Kadi nahi milega tanu.
All right. So, I know. He
Straight
said
up.
we're never going to get it. Yeah.
No, I tell you why though. We will allow our Sikh brothers to always have access to your holy sites and all of that. But it's our country, bro. You can't come and say you're going to have our
all right,
country.
so I'm more
You get me?
realistic. I'm more realistic. I don't want to ask for that side. It's too much headache, yeah. As long as you got access to it.
Always, you have access to it,
Like we got the
always.
Kartarpur corridor
Come
now,
on.
yeah. So we do have access to it. So but there are some Khalistans when you see the map, it's all the way over to past Lahore.
To Kabul.
Yeah, all the way to Kabul. Yeah, big up. Maharaj Ranjit Singh.
But how
Ranjit Singh Nalawal.
long did you not have the empire though?
50 years, man.
So then,
yeah, I know, but I'm just.
It's not even one lifetime.
I'm just saying.
Come on, man.
I'm just saying.
If we had it for a couple lifetimes, I could say, yeah.
But we've had a very short history. So in the 1770s, we were being oppressed. By the 1800s, we were running the place. So yeah, big up the Sikhs, man. And
But
big up
when
Maharaj
you say
Ranjit
you were
Singh.
running the place, was you running the whole subcontinent?
We was running. Oh yeah, that bloody
That's what I
surprise,
mean.
that little prick.
No, was you running the whole
Oh, sorry.
subcontinent though?
No, we was running from Punjab over to Afghanistan.
Yeah, so which is not a big...
It's for a small minority, it's a big thing. Like we was only 10% of the population.
Mughal Empire was in decline. The British were about...
They
you
were
know,
in decline because we kicked their ass.
You know what was happening at the time?
Let's not go into that.
He doesn't know what was happening
We
at the
know,
time,
we
innit?
know. We're gonna go into like.
the thing, the British...
We're gonna get into silliness.
Yeah.
We're gonna
From
get.
the south they came, from Goa and all them...
Hold on, let's
places
not
going
talk about that. Yeah, let's get back to the situation. What do you think? Because for me, I support a referendum for Khalistan, and whatever the Punjabis decide, I will say okay. So if they say no, okay, let's move on.
Are you asking about Kashmir?
Yeah,
or Punjab?
Punjab.
I want. So for me, I'm talking about Punjab. If you want to answer about Punjab,
Can I
fair
answer
enough.
both?
You can answer both.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the least the Indian government should do is to give more autonomy to the Punjab.
That's minimum.
The minimum. Reclassify the Sikhs as a separate people,
As Sikhs, yeah, not Hindus.
Give back a lot of the water because they're trying to take more water and at least give at least 50-50, 50 for Punjab and 50 out. Right now it's 75 and they want to give more. A lot of people are dying because
And
of this.
also, they
because
need,
of the
they
farming.
need to invest more into Punjab.
Yeah,
Money.
yeah. And on top of that, obviously, you know, when it comes to the army and stuff like that, I don't think the Sikhs get the respect that they deserve in terms of how much we sacrifice.
You lot are
considering
portrayed
our,
as a stupid, drunk people
Yeah, yeah.
in all the movies.
Well, if you look at the thing about the 12 o'clock, Sikhs go mad at 12 o'clock. That's where Sikhs used to come down and kick people's ass at 12 o'clock. That's why I was mad at 12 o'clock yesterday, was it?
It was about 12, yeah, it was about 12. Baran baji ke saath.
Let me say something. I was very angry yesterday. This is why when I went on tour,
Well, you and Grey Dunya went mad, innit?
Yeah,
And
I
M-Stacks.
got angry, man. I got angry.
They were mad. I was in a hangout last night. They went crazy, bro.
Yeah, it was
Left.
crazy. So yeah. So
We'll do a hangout today later on. Jump
yeah. So
on it, man.
I'll see if I'm
so
back
for
fine.
me,
I bought a new game. So
Yeah, so for me,
Sekiro.
for me, I think both
Government
Kashmir,
Wi-Fi as well.
both Kashmir and both Punjab should stop this military action and try and call for a referendum, push it that way, and both of them, whatever the people decide, the Indian government should stand by.
So can I?
what is
can I-
yours?
Yeah, I'll start.
1 second.
What?
Did you hear him?
What did I say?
Yeah, what fantasy land you living in? So the Kashmiris and the Punjabis should ask India for a referendum and India's going to say yes?
I didn't say they're going to say yes. I didn't say that. I'm saying to you, in an ideal world, what I want.
But you're illustrating
it is-
your
No, but hear
intention.
what I'm saying though.
That's
never going to happen.
Look, it's not about whether it's going to happen. We're looking at the
Let's talk
ideal
realistic.
situation.
Fuck ideal, let's
no.
talk
We
realistic.
can talk about realistic
You
in a
have to
minute.
be
We
real.
can talk about realistic in a minute.
Don't be being
No, I'm going to
hypothetical
ask that in a minute.
situation.
No, as in,
I'm going to ask that in a
I
minute.
get
Yeah,
his point.
in the next point, I'm going to say, what do you think's going to happen?
Okay,
So,
cool.
firstly, I'm
So
going to say,
you're-
what is your ideal
Cool.
solution?
So so first of all, any discussion about where people's lives are being lost. No, the loss of any human life is tragic. I believe human life is sacred and it should be preserved, But when you're having so much bloodshed and violence and so much continued friction, military escalations, the best thing to do is when you have so many people agitating, just give them what they're asking for. So I do believe that a plebiscite, a withdrawal of militarization from these regions, and an honest, clear, referendum is given to these people to ask them, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Now, I realize that India would be very reluctant to allow this to be the case. To my knowledge, I think the Pakistani state's position has been, we support the will of the Kashmiri people, whether it be independence or accession to us.
Let me just say, I've been very stubborn recently, saying that Kashmiris, how you have to be Pakistani, you have to be Pakistani. I've done a bit of
You
research.
went mad last
Okay,
time.
I've done a bit of research, I've done a bit of soul searching, and I've asked my uncles and aunties and people that are older than me, and the responses that I've been given is that we would like Kashmir to be part of Pakistan, but if the Kashmiris decide they want a separate state, Pakistan will support it fully, and I stand by that.
Okay,
Yeah, so
alright.
the people's will. I know in the past, with the legacy of partition, a lot of things have been done without the will of the people, as we saw with Hyderabad and Kashmir and so on and so forth, Bahawalpur or Balochistan or parts of Fatah, which is federal administered tribal areas. So perhaps in order to move forward and show an evolution in our political thinking and self-awareness as communities, we should devolve powers back to the people and allow them to be in charge of their own destiny and control.
Definitely.
Now, I can understand India's reservations towards allowing its territorial sovereignty to be,
it's like a domino
addressed.
effect for them.
Yeah, so they can say.
So they worry that it's the same with the UK that
yeah.
when Scotland goes, they'll worry that Wales will do it.
Or maybe a further afield like the Falkland Islands or something
South
like that.
India has been pushing for this for a long time.
Yeah.
So if they give it to Punjab, South India is going to be knocking on the door.
Yeah.
When you're looking at it objectively, for India to give independence, they're going to think, all right, once that's done, there will be it's not if, there will be a knock-on effect.
Yeah, so I think at this stage in time, given how things are so far apart, if that isn't a feasible possibility in which the world can come together and be, participants in ensuring that there's elections and, fairly, resolving this issue, then perhaps these people's concerns should be heard out. To my knowledge, I've heard that a lot of the Kashmiri people, and on my mother's side, I am Kashmiri as well, and my father's side, I'm Punjabi, so I'm half and half, right? So in that regard, we
Perfect
should,
example.
So we should ask these people.
But this is the thing, in Pakistan, we don't see a differentiation between Punjabi and Kashmiri.
You did the other day.
No, it's only when they start going on like. This is when I get pissed off, yeah?
You're not Pakistani.
Okay, listen. There's certain Kashmiris that will come out with the stupid notion that Pakistani military is abusing Kashmiri Muslims. And I said, bro, are you taking a piss? Don't take the piss. If there's one rogue, stupid guy who's done stupidness, I understand. But
I think whatever discussion we have, we need to back up with evidence. Like, I've heard that Amnesty International, I think they did a survey between 1987 to 2017, or around about a 30-period range, and they found out just for enforced disappearances, on average, one person has gone missing every Friday for nearly 30 years.
In Kashmir?
In Kashmir.
Is that Azad?
In Jammu and Ladakh.
It's probably similar
with
to
the
Punjab
BSF
then.
border security force and so on and so on. So the heavy-handedness of South Asian states, East Asian states on their people is something that leaves a lot to be
They're
desired.
a bit close to the communists, aren't they?
All right, so look here. We can. I would like to go into.
So let's go to the actual.
Yeah. So what was your kind of ideal solution for you?
No,
was that your ideal
solution? Yeah, that was my ideal solution.
Listen to the people.
My ideal solution is free Khalistan.
Yeah.
Free Khalistan. Ideal solution is free Kashmir. Let the Kashmiri people on both sides decide what they want to do. No problem. And yeah, I mean that would be my ideal. But let's go to real now.
Oh, the real then, yeah.
Because ideal, go and give us your real.
All right. So for me, the real is that a referendum being given by India, even if it is, it would be corrupted and probably rigged, and you'd have to have an outside body coming in, really monitoring what is going on. We do have this campaign for Khalistan 2020. It won't happen within 2 years.
That's a year away.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I think if you was to say maybe 5 years, I'm not saying it will, but that would be a solution that would kind of put this issue to rest to a certain degree. Because even I, who's pro-Khalistan, would say, okay, the people have spoken. Because one thing I've realized is talking to people from India, I'm going to be honest with you, most Khalistanis are actually out of India.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to add to this argument, if we talk
you're not
about,
going to find them fighting in the Indian army, are you?
If we
might.
If we talk about, non-partisan, countries or states getting involved in this process, is it possible, given the rampant amount of lobbying and international relations between different countries and how they leverage political clout, that even those participants could sway the balance?
Russia, US and Israel can enforce India to do that. They are the free nations that if they pressured India, India would have to do it.
Well, look, the problem with India, they're becoming very arrogant in the way they're behaving. And
do you believe this is the strong man posturing just in election time and how
Yes.
we've seen
this links into the conflict that happened. I guarantee you, if this was like a year before and there was no election, because Modi is going to elections, and I reckon he wouldn't have done what he did in terms of being so aggressive with Pakistan.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so I'm saying that if it wasn't an election coming up, I don't think Modi would have taken the same actions he did in terms of the soldiers being killed.
So do you believe Narendra Modi has dug himself into a hole by presenting himself in this 56-inch
I just want to know what action
chest?
you believe he's taken.
All right, so we'll go on to the Kashmir and the conflict.
What you believe happened.
So basically for me, I think both sides are doing a media blitz and propaganda. I truly believe that India did go into the airspace of Pakistan and did probably kill some training camps and people in there.
Training camps?
Not training camps, people within the training camps, yeah. But I don't believe, it's the numbers they were saying.
Okay.
It could have been 50, it could have been 20, it could have been 1.
If I tell you it wasn't even 1.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Okay, let me come through, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
All right, bro. We, as a nation,
Was
our
it tree
media,
warfare?
you know how Pakistani media
It was tree
is.
warfare.
They come there straight away, yeah? Bro, we gave an invitation to the whole worldwide media and said, come here, there's the spot, you can come and investigate, check anything you want to do. People came and checked, Raj. Let me know which body was found. Not even one, my brother. There wasn't even, bro, there wasn't even a bricks, bro. There was a tree. My brother, 1 second. There was a trees you broke, bro. Some like
Tree
forestry.
warfare.
Bro, you dropped bombs in forests. You know why you done it?
Pakistan has taken India to the UN for eco-terrorism.
Yes.
No, that's true.
Bro, you don't
I'm
understand.
dead serious.
Bro, listen, listen. India came into our airspace, yes? Pakistani the Air Force went up, yeah? They had to turn around and run away. And what standard procedure is when you're going back, you drop your payload. You know this, it's common
Scramble the
procedure.
jets and get out quick,
So they scrambled the jets, they dropped their payload wherever they could, and they ran away, bro.
Look, look here, I'm not...
But Raj, I'm telling you the
I know
facts.
you're telling
These
me
are facts.
that it's not facts, it's your opinion.
Bro,
So
there's
what-
video evidence, bro. You can see the site.
Look here, I'm going to be
How
honest.
could we
hold
do
on,
that to you?
hold on.
I'll have to take you literally there.
Hold on. What I'm going to say
Nah,
to you,
man,
I
this is bullshit, bro.
I can't say
when
too-
America tells you they
I
killed Bin
can't
Laden,
say
no,
too
1 second,
much
1 second.
here.
When
Oh, look what
America
he's doing,
said,
he's starting
no,
to
it's
nudge
true
me
though.
now, man. Look
When
at this.
America said they killed Bin Laden in
Pakistan bullying the
Pakistan, all
Punjab.
they showed you were some grainy images and you believed it.
No.
But yet, when Pakistan's showing you footage, live footage, you're not believing it.
All right, so let me say something here.
Fucking that's double
Look, I'm
standard,
going to
bro.
say something, but I can't say too much.
Come on, man.
I've been given additional information that I can't divulge that reinforces my premise that there were casualties, but not to the extent that they
There
were
was
saying.
no casualties. There's one small hospital.
But there were trees though.
Bro, yeah. There's one small hospital, Raj. Raj,
trees,
in
man.
that area, there's only one small hospital. The hospital would have been flooded if there was 20 man there, even 10 man there. There was nobody, Raj.
So all right, so we're not going to agree
Bakwas,
with
yeah.
to me, it's bakwas in the sense that both sides are doing propaganda.
Bro, Pakistan, this is what you need to understand. Pakistan never claimed that we went inside India and we killed this many men. This is all we're claiming. This is what we claimed, right? We claimed you came into our airspace, we scrambled our jets, you had to go back. Right? That's one thing. Second thing we said is we locked onto 6 targets, right? The second time, we shot into the open field to show that we can, but we're not going to hurt your people. And then India came into our airspace and we shot down a jet. We say 2, but okay, 1. 1 we know for a fact, yeah?
Well, when the airplane, this is one of the reasons why Air Pakistan was taken out of the third world because of our.
We returned it, yeah.
Because of obviously when I was talking to I can't remember Osama, that when you're listening to the video, you can only hear screaming, but if you understand Punjabi, you can hear the soldiers saying, and they, leave him alone. Yeah. So for me, the way they treated the soldier was like, okay, that is one way that you can show that you
remember
are
Kulbhushan
kind
Yadav?
No.
He was hanged, the Indian raw spy, right? He was hanged.
yeah.
We could have hanged this guy easily. He's a prisoner of war. We could have, no, but Imran Khan, like I said to you before, have some faith in Imran Khan. He's a different kind of breed of...
No. Let me just say something. I know I was going around Imran Khan's just a cricketer, go on the cricket pitch, blah,
see
blah,
now,
blah.
don't it? He's
Let me
different.
say something. Look, when it comes to the CCBB thing, he was under immense pressure
To kill her.
To kill her, and
Overturn the
literally
verdicts.
what he's done, he's got a compromise, which is she can't leave the country, but she's not in prison, which is a compromise.
And he's made security measures in place for her so she's not under threat.
Yeah, and also we do have the Kartarpur corridor, which is the link between Punjab into,
Imran Khan has
Pakistan.
vacated all the governmental houses and places, and he's living in his own accommodation, and he's turning them into places of revenue for the country.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I'm pleasantly surprised, but I can't just suddenly, 6 months ago,
But this is what I'm trying to say, Raj.
and I don't know nothing
What I'm
about the
trying to
man.
say to you is, I said this to you before he came into power. I said, Raj, give him a chance. He hasn't even been a year yet, you understand? Give him a couple years in power. If you don't see differences in the Pakistani policies of government, then you could come back and say, he hasn't done nothing.
I've done that.
He's only been in power for 6 months.
I know, but Pakistan's at the third order.
No, I know, but I'm saying give him 2 years. Look where we'll go. We might go up.
Imran Khan, watch what I've done for
In
your
2
country.
years, we're going to go up more.
Do you think he's celebrating now? Playing cricket? Doing Bhangra? So he's probably in his room, playing cricket. So the thing is, back to the cricket, so the human rights abuse. So when it comes to this situation, I truly do believe that Pakistan has behaved quite well. And I think the way they treated the prisoner that went over there, and in terms of India, I do think they were posturing for political reasons and not for what was right.
Do you feel that the Indian press, people like, Arnab Goswami and so on and so forth, have added fuel to the fire by, deliberately whipping up tensions and stuff like that? Perhaps it could be the case
Indian
that
media's to blame.
the vast majority, overwhelming majority of Indian people, as people all around the world, are only concerned with their own subsistence
But if there was
and
this
the
is
sanctity of their way of
this
life.
is the problem, India is so huge, but if there's a war, where would the war occur?
Punjab.
In the Punjab, in Kashmir.
On
So,
both sides.
so for us, yeah, the people that will suffer the most
You know
yeah,
why that is,
will
though?
be those people
You know
in
why
those
that is,
areas.
though? Because Punjab is the most fertile flat landscape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no natural
Yeah.
barriers. You
The
can
tanks
walk
can
in
just
from one
run in
part to
like
the
that,
other.
so it's the best place to invade.
Not when the Sikhs are there, though.
Is
We're
it
gonna-
not
So
true
you
that
can't
the same
stop a tank,
families
innit? A
and
tank
You
will
can,
just
you
come
can.
over
I'll be
you.
standing in front. Yeah,
Yeah.
come on, come on, come on.
Pakistan
Like,
and-
Jenna Musket.
And
There
you
are
see when you
some
see all the Sikhs,
families
you see.
that have business
What's
setups
on the other
across
side of
border.
Pakistan?
But what I'm saying,
No.
what I'm
Who
saying,
is on the other side of
what
Pakistan?
I'm saying to you,
No.
Punjabis as well.
So then-
so this
so don't talk shit.
But that's what I'm saying to you.
You know what he says? Double standard.
Hold
He
on,
goes,
no, no.
oh, the Punjabis in India.
No, hold on, no.
So what do you think's on the other side?
Let me explain,
Punjabis in
let me
Pakistan.
explain what I'm
Oh,
saying.
man.
Let me explain what I'm saying, yeah. You had the Punjabis on the side in 1970 something.
Yeah.
They didn't take into account that there were Punjabis on the other side when they were planning the military attack. So when you read the memoirs of some of these generals, they were like, oh, we're just going to get up and walk into India. But then when they hit the Punjab, they were like, all right, this is a
Raj,
lot
you do
harder.
know, okay, can I say something, yeah?
So I'm not saying that they're not
Before you
powerful.
carry
I'm
on,
saying that she's
okay.
like a boxer
But just
under preparing.
before you carry on.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but just before you carry on, you do know them wars that everybody loves to go back to, that Pakistan in this 1960, 1970 or whatever. Bro, Pakistan was a baby. We're not the same person.
Yeah, I'm not saying you was.
Totally different people now. Totally different technology, like militarily, everything. Bro.
I mean, India needs to upgrade their aeroplanes. That MiG-21 looked like it was made out of paper. Did you see when it
I wanna
crashed?
find these
Did you see the aero? My mum saw the MiG-21 in the world. It's like, Ikea.
But we've still got the bombs.
It looked like a paper.
Raj, we've still got the bombs intact that came off the plane. They're there. Big, massive. What the
I do truly believe though. But I do truly believe if there was really a conflict between the between the new nations, it would be extremely bloody and long. But India would ultimately prevail.
Tell the
If it was
Punjabis to just stay out of it and watch us deal with it.
Yeah. Because
Watch us deal with it.
I know. One tank.
But could it
It's hard to deal with your own people, innit? But
Imagine
you
fa-
don't get out of the way. Let us deal with it.
Imagine facing I'm an Indian.
Just step on him like, oh, get out of the way, man.
It's like one tank. Come on, bro, let's go through. Give him a samosa, pakora in
So
his pocket. That's it.
how can we wrap up this conversation positively in a way
Yeah,
that we can
so-
take away
so-
from what we've discussed
all right, so-
and we can engage other viewers?
So
around the
basically,
camera as well?
I'm going to say this, yeah. It's a real shame that in 2019 that I am looking to Pakistan and saying their human rights is better than India.
Is it a
Is
shame,
that a
though?
shame?
Is it a shame?
Or
It's
do
a
we
shame
want to
for-
encourage good
No,
and
but
positively
this is what
wherever
I'm
we
saying.
see it?
So why don't you say
Well, all right,
it's
so-
not a shame?
Let me talk what I want to say, man. Don't dictate.
you're saying it's a shame,
So
it's
I
not a
do
shame.
think to me it's a shame because I don't think Pakistan is ultimately a
Was
good country.
India ever a pillar of democracy?
So let me just say
For
something.
you to say it's a
I
shame.
do not still think Pakistan is a good example of human rights. So I can't say, oh, I'm not going to praise it. What I'm saying is that they have human rights here that they're not going around the world going saying we're the most humane country. That's not their reputation of being the biggest democracy. When it comes to India, they're trying to portray this image of being very fair, being the biggest democracy, having the best having good human rights. But in fact, what they are hypocrites because
Evidence suggests contrary to that.
yeah, contrary. I mean, you have 3 individuals, the Sikh individuals that have been put into prison for life. You have Juggi who's been in a guy called Juggi who's been in remand for 500 days. You have the attacks that just happened yesterday where the Sikhs were killed in the Gurdwara. I guarantee you no one's going to be arrested. You had the Muslim family that was just killed for playing cricket. So these kind of religious fundamentalists are just as bad as the religious fundamentalists on the Pakistani side.
So
Yeah.
extremism of opinion and polarizing people's points of views is the biggest malady that I personally see.
Yeah.
Historical revisionism, people rewriting a sense of legacy that doesn't exist, and a neglect of the key issues such as water, education, and healthcare are some of the problems that I perceive in South Asian politics. And unfortunately, it's cloaked up in a dress of hyper-nationalism.
I mean,
which is what needs to be
India
addressed
is
first and
doing.
foremost.
Let me just praise India a little bit because I do want to go there, but don't arrest me. Basically, when it comes to the space program, they've got a great space program. They've got, the economy
You
is
hear
doing
about the
well.
young boy from India that sent up the world's smallest satellite?
Oh, did he?
It's about that small, bro.
How do you do with a catapult?
No, but I'm saying he created the world's smallest satellite.
Oh, all right. So when it comes to India, I'm going to say this: you're a disgrace.
Or do we want to say there are certain aspects
No,
of
they're
Indian
disgrace.
democracy-
Hold on,
Go
they're a
on.
disgrace.
Go on.
You are a third world. You're not going to get out of it because what you're doing at the moment, you're just digging your own hole. And what you are going to be is a permanent member of the third world.
Is Pakistan in that world?
No, they're not in there
That's
now.
right,
So
that's
basically,
right, that's
there are
right.
there are two countries that, like the UN, you have the permanent members. You have 2 permanent members, Saudi Arabia and North Korea. They can't get out,
He's a Pakistani.
And India, India is very
He's been in
close.
Pakistan for 2 years.
India is very close to being a permanent member of the Third World Council. Yeah, so you need to fix up. And a lot of people are saying, Raj, we're going to send this video to the Indian embassy. Do it. Yeah, I'll freaking turn up myself here and go in there and freaking show my picture of Bindranawala that I've done. I've done a drawing of him. I don't give a shit. Yeah, so at the end of the day, this is not any Sikhs watching this going, oh, Raj, you're not talking for the Sikh community. No, I'm not. But what I am talking about is human rights here. And the minorities in India are being oppressed, whether they're Muslims, whether they're Sikhs, whether they're Christians and stuff. And so this is about human rights. And to my Hindu brothers here, you need to look at it as well, because most Hindus here do not agree with this Hindu fundamentalist version of Hinduism. And you must start looking at this here, because how you treat your minorities is very important as a nation. Yeah. So all I'm going to say is, India, you're a third world country. In 1 week or 2 weeks, I'll decide if you're a permanent member. And once you're in the permanent member, you're going to have to do something amazing to get out of it. So fix yourself up.
So just to finish off, I'd like to say that
I'm a Khalistan.
a good discussion with Saad and Raj. You know what I mean? Big up to both of the brothers.
Yeah, I do a few,
going away from this, I'd like to say to my Sikh brothers, especially to the Punjabi brothers, you lot have to kind of stop buying into the Indian media, what they're showing you about Muslims in Pakistan. I mean, we're Punjabi, just like you lot, you get me? And, we have Balochi, Sindhi, Pathans as well. You're not, but the majority of the Sikhs are Jats, bro. Understand? Majority of the Sikhs are Jats. The converts are
don't start doing
the converts
this
are not, but anyway, it's cool, isn't it? You get me? Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, as your Punjabi brothers on the Pakistani side, we support the movement for free Khalistan. You understand? We also support the movement for free Kashmir. Whether Kashmir wants to side with Pakistan or be an independent state, we support it wholeheartedly. What we can take away from this is, though, a bit more of we have to kind of be able to tolerate each other more. You understand? Because at the moment, we're not tolerating each other. We're just at each other's throats, you know, trying to say, I can do this better than you, or you can do that better than me. I mean, we did used to live in harmony before.
We can fight better, though.
Yeah?
No doubt.
Not
Just the Punjabis in general.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that's what I was about to say. So what I will say is that before the British came, even though we had different empires, those empires consisted of people of all religions and faiths. So we should look back on our history and see how we lived in harmony before.
Yeah, but the thing is, in harmony, that wasn't through religion. The religion never brought
There was always religion
harmony.
there.
Yeah, the harmony didn't come through religion.
No, there wasn't harmony.
Always
That's
religion.
right.
There was
I
always
agree with
religion.
that, because there was a lot of conflict.
Right.
I don't think so.
right.
I think religion brings harmony.
That's right.
Religion brings
Let's
harmony.
Let's not go into it, because I'm going to start ranting. Oh my God.
Let Saad say his last
But
piece.
don't say that, because you know you're going to trigger me, man. So let's be positive.
But it's my opinion. Religion brings harmony.
150 million dead.
So Sikh don't bring harmony.
Religion can bring harmony, but it
Sikh
can
don't bring
also
harmony.
Religion can bring
What's
harmony,
that? Oh, religion
and
can
it can
bring
also
harmony,
bring this
but
harmony
150
in some
million
ways
dead.
where you become fundamentalist.
Bro, 10,000 dead in 6 days. What are you saying about that?
So if you believe,
10,000
if
dead in
you
6
have a
days, what are you
religion,
saying about that?
I condemn that, and those
No,
people are
no,
evil,
no.
and the Indian government need to sort themselves out.
Question?
Yeah.
God.
So you're getting to the end of your thing anyway.
Yeah.
Tell us, Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard. Is she?
Have you heard the name?
I haven't.
No.
This is a Hindu woman standing for American president.
Tulsi.
Yeah, she's standing for American president. Yeah, and I thought for maybe next week.
Nikki Haley is another one as well.
No, but totally different.
She's actually Sikh.
She's against. She's called out Trump for supporting jihadis against in Syria, and she's against the deep state in the Democratic Party, and she's running for president. I thought maybe next week you might
we
want
could
to
do
look
that.
And there's
into
also a lady called Nikki Haley.
First
Tulsi
Indian
what?
woman to
Tulsi
stand
what?
for-
Tulsi?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Gabbard.
But there's also a lady called Nikki Haley. She was from a Sikh
but
background.
she's
Her
right-wing
dad's
as
a
fuck.
Sardar.
She
So
pretends
she-
not to be Indian, doesn't she?
But are they
No,
half-
she's
are they
not. She's
mixed?
She's
But
Indian.
she's pretending
No,
not to be,
no.
isn't she? Like,
For pure Punjabi.
You said her dad's a Sardar.
Her dad's just I'm talking about her dad's a Sardar, but
Maki,
she's not a Sardar.
If you look at this
she's
woman
Sikh,
on there,
isn't
She's
it?
Sikh,
Like,
yeah, Apni, yeah.
if you look
Okay.
at the Jimmy Dore show, her
Why does
interview
she
on
look
there,
white though, bro?
she's really interesting woman.
Ain't she half white? She's half
Look a
white.
bit, doesn't she?
She's half white. Look, Tulsi Gabbard. Gabbard is not an Indian name. So this is what I'm saying, yeah? Aurora. So she's
Are you
yeah?
saying that they like Persian?
I think she sounds like a really
Like
interesting...
Freddie Mercury?
No, I'm gonna check that out next week.
Yeah.
I have cousins that are
Afghan Sikh.
So that's the proper, not Gabbard.
No.
That's Gabbard.
I think you're right.
All right, so let's wrap it up. We got Don Corleone here.
Gabbard. Yeah, Gabbard. Yeah,
But
no,
maybe
this is
Corleone.
Gabbard.
Maybe we'll look into
wrap
that
up
for
next
next
white
week.
person.
We're scared.
Yeah, but we'll look
We
into
got the Don Corleone
Oh,
of the park. We can't do nothing. We can't do nothing. We can't do nothing.
Man have to risk being shot.
We're scared. We're scared. We're gonna get a
Listen,
horse's
man
head.
have to risk being shot.
Wait, he's gonna put a horse's head in my bed. Guess whose horse's head?
Big up respect, man. Don't take the piss.
I'm joking.
Big up my
I'm joking. Right, so let's end it on a positive then, yeah?
Yeah, let's start saying his bit, man.
Yeah, so I think the most
Come in the middle,
important,
innit?
the most important thing is that we keep this conversation as open-ended as possible. There's so many points of view and considerations to make, and the last thing we want to do is subscribe to the same hyper-nationalism that's already plaguing a lot of these societies and countries. In order to evolve our political mindset and the way in which we understand problems and find their solutions, we need to have as inclusive a dialogue as possible. So I'd encourage everyone who's interested in the topic to come along.
And down to India.
Not down to India, down to the Hindu nationalist party.
Yeah, down to BJP, RSS, Modi, and India at the moment.
Big up the actual
big up
people.
DJ Rizza.
Big up the
I
actual
apologise last
civilized
week when I
people
used
on
the
the
video
ground. Big
footage.
them up, you know
It was
what I mean?
DJ Rizza, the oldest DJ in the world. Anyway, man.
Bad man. He's a bad man.
Big up. Anyway, man.
Big
How
up
long
Rizza.
about, man? How long
The
you
real
here for?
Turk. I'm here, man, still. For a while.
Come take over everything from your Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Perfect world, you would tackle all these problems with sexual assault. However,
Not
I'm
only
sorry,
sexual
I'm
assault,
not.
there are different problems in other religions. For example,
problems in every religion.
but look,
Organized
some religions have
religion in
bigger
general
problems
is
than
an
others. I would say the biggest problem, especially in the Middle East right now, is that they don't have, how do you call the name? When the church is separate from the state.
They're all one. They're theocracies. They're all like
exactly. They don't have a secular state in some states in the Middle East. Why don't you start by